Hello everyone, my name is Dmitro and I live in Tokyo for more than 3 years. I work as a model and sometimes I have shootings all over Japan. I visited Osaka more than 12 times I guess, and I really like this city. But I also paid attention to the fact that Osaka is not popular among tourists at all. Most people prefer visiting only Tokyo and Kyoto where they spend more time than they should. So I decided to make this video to show you the most interesting places in Osaka. And trust me, Osaka is not just Universal Studio Japan. So it's time to take Shinkansen. Let's go! Why do I love Osaka? First of all, because I feel the spirit of real modern Japan here. Osaka has beautiful cityscapes with skyscrapers, one of the oldest Japanese temple, unique local food, simple names of metro stations and lines, castle, shrines, monorail, specific traditions and features, imprisoned liquid soap, American God, real water vending machines for exactly 100 yen, and of course unique people. They are more noisy, rebellious and straightforward. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you. Time to subscribe and like this video. I usually stay in hostels around Namba or Tanimachi because it's convenient to go to the shooting and visit some attraction. And I prefer to start the trip with a visit, no, not the church and not the Museum of History, although the building looks impressive, but with Osaka Castle. It seems to me that no other city in Japan has such a cool and comfortable central park with so many leisure activities. I'm entering through the Otemon Gate. And I recorded these videos in January and February, and very soon sakura will bloom in a garden near the castle. Don't miss it. The command of the 4th Army Division was based here in the last century, and now it's a shopping center. And finally, this is the main tower of Osaka Castle, which was miraculously unscathed during World War II. The Japanese were very fond of placing arsenals, warehouses and the army in close proximity to the main attractions of most cities, and the Americans bombed these places during World War II. Well, almost everything. Therefore, the fact that the main tower of Osaka Castle has survived is a real miracle. And nowadays, the territory around the castle has been actively developed, and this is the Osaka Business Park. I usually forget I don't have time to eat, so I buy onigiri on the way to the next attraction. I just arrived at Tanoji Station. It's a big transportation hub. And note, only in Osaka do people keep to the right, which is more common for foreigners. And next, I'm going to visit my favorite Shinto shrine in Osaka, Sumiyoshi Taisha. It's located a bit far from the city center, and I always prefer to go there by tram. I also usually visit the shrine in the morning because there are more opportunities to see something really interesting here. I'm entering through the main front torii, passing by tourist groups. Sumiyoshi Taisha is the main and most famous of approximately 2,300 Sumiyoshi shrines found across Japan. Sumiyoshi Shrine enshrined the kami who protect travelers, fishermen and sailors at sea. It was founded in 211. Japan's oldest open international port, Suminoe no Tsu, was built nearby on the southern side and was the Silk Road's entrance into Japan. But what's unique is the architectural style of Sumiyoshi Taisha, known as Sumiyoshi Zukuri, the oldest style used in shrine construction. Typical features of this style are simple straight thatch roofs that do not curve upward, and decorative crossed poles on the roof's gables. Pillars are painted vermilion, walls are painted white, and each shrine building has a surrounded wooden fence. The shrine itself is registered as a national treasure. One of the most famous structures on the shrine grounds is a steeply arched 400-year-old bridge at the entrance. And now consider this view one of the most beautiful in Osaka. I even posted photo of it on my Instagram. I was almost late for the tram. The seats are arranged very strangely. I always have a desire to put a table in the middle and celebrate something. And now, I'm heading north to Expo Commemorative Park. What makes this park unique, other than an expensive ride without a pass? First of all, monorail. Secondly, interesting architecture of public toilets. But no, the most important attractions are the Tower of the Sun and a piece of the Festival Plaza roof. Almost all pavilions have been demolished, but nowadays there is a huge park with various plants, including sakura, maples, and roses. But the main highlight of the park is the Japanese garden. When I was here for the first time, I didn't even know this place existed. I shot these videos on January 9th. This is probably the greatest period in any park or garden, but even then, I was able to enjoy the beauty of Japanese garden art. So calm, so peaceful, so beautiful. I think it's time to finally eat some local food, and time to check if you like this video. I've noticed that the first thing most Japanese people ask about is the local food when you tell them about your recent trip. Therefore, I go to the very heart of the city, Dotonbori. I think this cityscape is probably the most famous of Osaka. Usually everyone goes here in the evening to walk among the crowd under the light of advertising signs and lanterns, but sorry, I prefer less busy time and not crowded places, and it's easier to take a photo next to the famous Glico sign. And I decided to try probably the most famous dish of Osaka, takoyaki. Essentially, they are round balls of fluffy dough that are smothered with a specially savory takoyaki sauce and have a tasty piece of octopus meat inside. And it's finally time to try takoyaki. Looks so delicious. 美味しいです。So good. So good. So good. And it's quite convenient to take the Nagahori-Tsuru Miriakuchi line train and go to Osaka Castle from here. But I decided it'd be better to visit the huge Buddhist temple, Shitennoji. It is one of Japan's oldest temples and the first ever to be built by the state. It was founded in 593 by Prince Shotoku, who supported the introduction of Buddhism into Japan. I tried to count how many times the temple suffered from lightning, fires, and wars, but I couldn't. Nevertheless, the temple's buildings were always carefully constructed to reflect the original 6th century design. If you want to see the treasure house and the 5-story pagoda closer, you have to pay. There is also a picturesque garden near Shitennoji Honbo, where sakura will soon begin to bloom, so don't miss it. And a few hundred meters from here there is another Buddhist temple, Isshinji. I focus on it because I'm always impressed by the architecture of the main gate. Everything looks pretty typical and ordinary, but the building from the back has a very strange appearance, right? And I reached the second most popular area among tourists, Shinsekai. The Tenkaku Tower is the main attraction and takes center stage here. You can go up to the observation deck or just eat in one of hundreds of cafes and bars, but you will definitely pay attention to the huge number of strange sculptures. This is Billy Can, an American god of the way things ought to be. People pray at him for good fortune in business, school, and love. It's sad that this area is not very popular and a bit dangerous because of mafia, homeless people, red light district and cheap hotels for tourists, but check the information because it is quite outdated. I like it here. And now I suggest walking through Osaka streets to better feel the atmosphere of the city. And this is Osaka Tenmangu Shrine. It is located next to a very busy shopping street. Let me remind you that I was in Osaka at the beginning of January, so I was lucky enough to see many New Year's rituals and many places still had holiday decorations. If you happen to be visiting Osaka in July, don't miss the shrine's Tenjin Matsuri festival on 24 and 25 July. It ranks alongside Tokyo's Kanda Matsuri and Kyoto's Gion Matsuri as one of Japan's great festivals. Until last year, it was the tallest skyscraper in Japan. Nowadays, the tallest one is located in Tokyo near Tokyo Tower and it spoils the view of the whole city. But I believe that Abenoharu Castle in Osaka doesn't decorate the city and reminds me of the Montparnasse Tower in Paris. But I really like the architecture of Nakanoshima and Umeda areas. This is Osaka City Central Public Hall. And I had a shooting here last year. But I finally managed to visit the observation deck of a very popular skyscraper, Umeda Sky Building. To be honest, I like this view even more than from the world's highest TV tower, Tokyo Sky Tree. Maybe because it's really in the city center. By the way, in 2 hours I met only up to 10 Japanese people, mostly only foreigners. And it's already getting dark, therefore I have several suggestions for how to spend the evening. Of course you can go to the Tonbori, Shinsekai or even stay at Umeda area, but I really enjoy spending the evening in an open air in a team lab botanical garden. Let me show just a few of the most interesting locations. But to be honest, I like to go to the onsen and chill there until the last train. I wonder if the Japanese understand that it's difficult for foreigners to pronounce such station names. Tenjibashi Sujirokuchome Station. By the way, the seats are arranged in such a way in the Osaka subway that tired or drunk people don't fall on the tracks. And I almost forgot to mention 2 important places that you must visit if you have a lot of free time. Firstly, the Osaka Aquarium. It is one of the best and largest in the world. The main star here is a whale shark, and all the expositions occupy as many as 8 floors with a huge tank in the center which represents the life of the Pacific Ocean. And secondly, Universal Studio Japan. I was there alone and I was lucky enough to visit all the attractions almost without queues. And I forgot to take a video because I was enjoying my time there. Right before the train I decided to check out what vinyls Tower Records had. And look what I found! But I'll talk about it in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out. I also have a ritual to check if the liquid soap is still chained in the toilet at Shin Osaka Station. I also decided to stand in a queue to buy this very famous cheesecake. And finally, I print the ticket and run to my train. I hope you enjoyed this video and decided on your favorites. What's worth visiting and what's overrated. See you soon. Bye bye.